Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
Yeah, so I ended up seeing the French Dispatch this weekend, which is the new film from our boy Wes Anderson, who I know Ace is not a fan of, so that's why I probably left this segment right now. I'm a big fan of Wes Anderson. I really enjoyed his last few movies. Obviously, everybody loves Budapest Hotel. I even liked the Isle of Dogs. I went to a little indie theater in like North Hollywood to go see that one. I'm a big fan of his work, and I think he has. I know a lot of people get annoyed by like how stylized his style is, and how like overly expressive it can like be. But I personally enjoy that filmmakers, who have style and whatnot, or have a particular kind of vision. So going into this movie, I had expectations. I really had no idea what the story is about. So, and I don't know people who. I don't know people like are interested in kind of keeping that position in the same way I do. I kind of don't like to know that much about going into it, but there will be some things that we'll be talking about, not spoilers per se, but things that I didn't know about going in. But basically the story of the French Dispatch is about a newspaper of the same name in France ran by Bill Murray. And it's kind of like a love letter to like journalism. And it kind of tells the story of like all these different journalists / the stories that they've like covered like over the years. So there's a brief one with like Owen Wilson. There's a lengthy kind of segments, but it's mostly like vignettes. It's very like vignette-y, very inspired by like French New Wave cinema, way down to like certain framing, certain homages to certain like Jean-Luc Godard films, certain Fellini films. And it just feels very, So it does have that vibe. A lot of it, and I talked about Wes Anderson's style and how he kind of has like this very bold, colorful palette in a lot of his films, and I think this one kind of offsets that a lot because the vignettes mostly take place in like black and white. So that's something that I also didn't know going into the film. I didn't know how much of the film was going to be in black and white. I guess if you watch the trailer, a lot of it's in black and white. But that's something that is too. So it's a little bit different in the fact of it's a little more stripped down Wes Anderson, where you're kind of just mostly relying on the story and the characters that are like kind of being told. So I ultimately really like it. I think when it comes to like vignette movies, ultimately it depends on how much you like the vignettes and which vignettes you like the most and which ones you like the least. I love the first one. There's a few smaller ones, but the first big one featured Benicio del Toro, if I'm not mistaken. That vignette was really amazing. They have a vignette with Timothée Chalamet, which, by the way, shout out to Timothée Chalamet. He had Dune and he had French Dispatch come out on the same weekend, having the big weekend. That segment I was not the biggest fan of, but then they ultimately ended with a beautiful part with Jeffrey Wright, and I think that was just an amazing segment as well. So yeah, there's so many great pieces to this film, parts of this film. Every single person in the cast, like I said, Benicio del Toro, Adrian Brody was hilarious. Tilda Swinton, Lea Seydoux was great, even though she was mostly like a side. She didn't have like a lot of lines in the movie. Frances McDormand, Timothée Chalamet, like I said, Jeffrey Wright, Owen Wilson, Bill Murray, our boy Tony Ravioli. Tony
Revolori?
So yeah, what I call him, Tony Ravioli.
Ravioli.
Yeah, there we go. And he's in it very briefly. Yeah, it's a good film. I definitely recommend it for people who like are looking for a decent, like a good piece of like art house cinema that like feels very throwback to like the French New Wave kind of style.
I'm really happy that you enjoyed it because I've heard some mixed things about like people saying this was like his most pretentious or whatever, but I don't really pay attention to any of that when I go into a film. So I'm happy you enjoyed it. And like, I love French New Wave. So that gets me more excited.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're like queen of French New Wave, Sabrina.
Yeah. I like that I have that title. Let's keep it going.
And I think if you dig, like, I think for me, I also took a lot away from, just like there's a little bit of like revolutionary spirit that kind of like seeps in and out in between throughout the the vignettes and like the themes that they're trying to represent. And I think that's really dope. And I think if you're somebody who digs journalism, like, I don't know, maybe I'm somebody who's like a little biased because I like movies like The Post, or I like movies like All the President's Men, where it's just like journalists like doing things. So I just appreciate that. I appreciate it on that level too. But I think it's dope. I think if people are interested in seeing it, I'd recommend it. But I definitely say, like, if you think Wes Anderson is pretentious and you like don't like his films, don't go watch it, because you're in for more of the same too. So
you only one can remain. It's either me or you. Only one can remain. It's either me or you. Take you out the equation. It's either me or you. You do the math.